What is going on, everybody? My name is Conor Lawler. Welcome back to another week of Hero or Zero here on the Heroes for Hire podcast. We are back again talking one comic book character as we do every single week. We talk their good points and their bad points, so we generally just give you a bit of a rundown of everything to do with that character. I am joined as always by my best pal, Mr. Shaun Mead. Shaun, how's it going?
I'm good, Conor. I'm excited to learn today.
Well, I don't know if you're going to learn a lot from what I've assembled.
Oh no, I'm going to read a book after this. So honestly,
bring a dictionary with you.
Can't wait for this to be over, honestly, to get back to this caterpillar, man. He's so hungry, you wouldn't believe it. Shaun normally does Marvel characters. I normally do DC characters. And if this is your first episode, you don't have to do anything. If it's your second or above, we'd really appreciate 5 stars, a like, a share, a follow, just any of that kind of support and stuff. The 5 stars are continuously going up on Spotify, so really great to see that. And iTunes as well, the 5 stars are going up. So thank you to everyone who's done it, and if you haven't done it, we'd really appreciate. Yeah, it's never too late to do.
It's never too late. But we also have a Patreon down below if you want to support the show. We do movie reviews every single month. So if you're into just some extra reviews and extra episodes of like extra content that you don't get here for free, then just head on over there.
Okay, I will. Thank you, Conor.
Well, you don't have to.
I'm really excited about this now.
You're obliged.
What? To be honest. Oh, well, now I kind of don't want to.
We don't want you there. Now he will show up. You see, it's you have to kind of talk to Shaun in a weird, like you're talking to an idiot, if you will.
But you're not. I can't.
Like is doing a lot of the lifting in that sentence.
Carrying me, to be honest, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Like.
So the report this week, Shaun, is I'm going to slightly change it up because one of my favourite things that we get to do on Hero or Zero is I get to bring up characters in comic books. Now, obviously, we don't talk about Batman and Superman and all them
because no one likes them.
Because they're not mainstream, they're not popular, nobody cares. No, but we talk about the characters that maybe you haven't heard of. And so then I go even further into that and think of characters from the 90s that turned up for a little bit and then vanished almost by the end of the decade.
Never heard from again. We love to see it.
Yes, we had Aztec, if you remember, written by Grant Morrison, who was also writing the Justice League story simultaneously, which was like the hottest selling comic book in all of DC, but then also at the same time writing a character. The hottest
selling comic book was Aztec, of course.
Writing a character called Aztec who did not sell any issues.
Yeah, so we really run the gamut of quality in terms of heroes.
Yeah, and so this week it's going to be slightly different. It's more of like a report because the stories themselves, I don't think, they're not the real... I was going to say the story isn't the story, but you know what I mean. The story, the plot lines aren't the real story. It's the character that was created because it's such a ridiculous idea. And I've read these 6 issues, by the way, only 6 issues, that it's fascinating this even got past anybody.
Yeah, sometimes it is just like, it's more interesting to talk about the character and what they can do than it is like, oh, here's the minutiae of every little story they were involved in.
I'm going to be talking about a lad called Stuart Stu Mosley, Shaun, otherwise known as the Heckler. Yes.
Okay. Please tell me he just takes the piss out of the Joker. Is that his whole deal?
Absolutely not. That's ridiculous. That's a stupid idea. And also, I sound sarcastic, but he doesn't. He's his own character.
Insane. Okay.
Base of operations, a little known made up city called Delta City. No relation to any other city. They made it up for this one character. Don't worry about it. Creators were Keith Giffen, Tom Beerbam and Mary Beerbam. And the Heckler #1 was released in September of 1992. So the first question I have is, do you remember the Heckler? Of course you don't. Nobody does.
I've never been heckled either, so that's except by you when I'm trying to
almost on a daily basis
do the job that you brought me in for.
So look, lasted a mere 6 issues and has never been thought about again, ever. Just turned up, 6, vanished. He's thought of as the Bugs Bunny of superheroes. Heckler was created by Keith Giffen in 1992 because Keith Giffen wanted to write a comic book starring Bugs Bunny, but they wouldn't let him. So
he just made a Bugs Bunny analogue.
So instead, he created a comical superhero because he thought that DC, the publisher of the current Bugs Bunny comic book, would basically see his comic book and then be like, wow, what a great idea, you should write for Bugs Bunny.
Why did he lock in so hard on wanting to write a Bugs Bunny comic?
He was really into Bugs Bunny.
Okay. He was a comic writer before this, was he? Or he just like...
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Be weird if it was just... No, I just love to do this one thing.
He just came from
school. Yeah.
So the Heckler donned a colourful yellow costume that had the words "ha ha" written on it, and obviously just a great kind of character to have about. Everyone loves that kind of character. His main asset was insanity. Complete and abject, surreal, absurd insanity. From the stories themselves, to the page layouts, to the splash pages, to even the letter columns at the end of the story. There wasn't really a full 3 inches of the whole comic book that I could find that wasn't, from what I could see, completely insane.
And is it like insane in a tasteful way, or is it just upsetting to read? Like it's just...
I was upset.
It's a bad experience.
I was overwhelmed, to be honest.
Right, okay.
You wouldn't read it if you were high. That's what I would say. You would be very, very stressed.
Yeah, you'd want to be in the mood.
Definitely. Unrelated to the Joker and the Riddler, aside from the fact that they're both in DC, the Heckler is decked out yellow spandex, right? Ha ha ha, letters adorning half of his costume. His mask sported an impossibly huge smile that was otherwise completely nondescript. His H symbol wasn't just on his chest, Shaun. No. It started under his armpits, wrapped around his waist, and hung down below his knees.
Can I look up a picture of the Heckler? Because I'm struggling
you absolutely can.
To visualise this. You've painted a picture. Absolutely true. But, oh man. This isn't great. I like the mask design, I'll be honest.
He's unsettling.
Yeah.
If you could also see in those comic book panels, if you're looking at some panels, everything is very bright, very, very colourful. It's just very in your face. It punches you over and over again.
It looks like a character they created so that they could test the printers to make sure that they were colouring right.
Stealth was not among his powers, is what I would say. So he was operating out of the Beach District neighbourhood of the fictional Delta City. The Heckler faced a rogues gallery of impossibly superpowered villains. However, the Heckler was anything but invincible. He was average strength, but far above average wit, Shaun. Because this is where I tell you that Heckler has no powers.
He's just a man running around being a prick.
From what I could tell, he's kind of superpowered in that he can't really die, but he also can die, but he can take like insane amounts of punishment.
Okay, but he's like talking the whole way. Like,
just imagine Spider-Man, but Spider-Man has snorted the biggest pile of cocaine before he's got out.
And he has no powers.
No powers.
Outstanding. I'd give him 6 issues.
He's Deadpool without the charm, is what I would say.
And the powers.
And the powers. So, Heckler relied on his own sarcastic comments and irritating moves to annoy and frustrate his supervillains, to the point that they would do themselves in. In one case, he literally heckled one villain to such annoyance that said villain began shooting at him, only to take out the other villain in the room by mistake, thus completing the Bugs Bunny aspect of no powers, just super annoying.
That is a very Bugs Bunny move. You could sub in Bugs Bunny to these comics and I imagine it doesn't change a whole lot.
He literally just wrote a Bugs Bunny comic book.
I'd love if there's like the sketches, it's all Bugs Bunny, and up until they ink it, and that's when they draw in the Heckler.
He draws that himself. The Heckler debuted, as I said, mid-1992. To put that into more pop culture perspective for you, and this is really, the more I thought about it, the more insane it became, right? Because at that exact time in comic books, Superman's murderer Doomsday is being promoted in Superman comic books. Simultaneously, Azrael is being introduced into the Batman comic books.
Jesus.
And Hal Jordan is the Green Lantern and is still a good guy at this point, but like they're also introducing Guy Gardner into that story as well. So comic books are very serious. There's a lot of very big storylines happening simultaneously, and they're all being promoted within the pages of the Heckler's comic book.
Wait, what? They're talking about all of this?
No, not talking, but like, you know, like how there's always like an advertisement page.
Oh, yeah.
So like, there's just photos of Doomsday in the middle of the Heckler comic book.
In the middle of him fucking chewing a carrot and dressing like a cowboy.
Yeah, basically. So you might assume there was little room on the newsstand for a breakout comedy character, and you would be absolutely correct, because it did not sell any comic books.
If you're grim and gritty all the time, a breath of fresh air, a laugh of fresh air is what you need.
Comic book fans didn't quite know what to make of the Heckler, if they even read the book at all. He was an oddball in a really strange world, but he wasn't really a spoof comic book. Like, it was a farcical nature. It was packed with like silly storylines, but he didn't spoof other characters or tropes like Deadpool would.
Yeah.
He himself was the joke,
but it was played entirely straight. Of like,
yes,
it's not like, oh, he didn't introduce an edgy 90s bad version of him.
There's no knowing look to the camera.
Yeah. This is just what he is.
Yes.
Very weird move.
How did this get past quality? Who knows?
Like, maybe it feels like it was just to shut him up about the Bugs Bunny thing.
He's got non-stop going on about this Bugs Bunny character, so let's just give him a fucking made-up comic book that he can do for 6 issues.
Yeah, exactly. Some of these fucking layouts and stuff are
the layouts really, like, they were really upsetting me. None of it makes any sense. There's no like just straight line of like work.
Yeah, and there's no logical like reading order to it. There's so much wasted space.
This lack of success could be related to the Heckler's accessibility. He inhabited a corner of the DC universe where a specific brand of surreal insanity was kind of around. There's neon signs, they point towards the criminal hideouts when there's not like advertisements. There's like big massive neon signs that's like, Your Lady of Perpetual Suffering Hospital, repent or I'll kill you, home of the world's largest cyst, and then another one that just says just another fucking sign, but the fucking is like ! #@
I see. So it's in the DC universe, but it's also just completely ridiculous. It's like
just completely insane. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so if it was well written, that wouldn't matter. But presumably it's just not.
That's a good point, Sean. So, Sue, who was this title Heckler? The first issue speculates on this for us, calling him everything from the Duke of Disdain to the founder of the European Coal and Steel Union and the first Chancellor of the German Republic. That is an actual quote from the comic book that I read. On the same page, the writers make observations like, we've never seen you and the Heckler together in the same room, have we? That kind of humour, everybody's laughing.
I'm laughing right now just thinking. You couldn't hear me, I muted my mic to do it out of politeness.
You shit yourself and pissed yourself laughing.
I did. I was really proud of it.
Now, the spoiler warning I have to give is that even though they wrote all of those storylines in, 11 whole pages later, the book confirms that hard-fisted coffee shop owner Stu Mosley is actually the Heckler.
Oh, so I guess they knew they had 6 issues, so they were like...
They didn't at this point. They knew they had 1, this was the first one. So most every other page tends to prove that he is everything the Heckler is not. So, Stu, grumpy old man, he's constantly vexed by the wacko world of corrupt crime in Delta City. So, like any other origin story, Stu says, too much has gone wrong in this town, and somebody's got to do something about it.
And I have to do it in the worst way possible.
Become what I fear. Jokes.
Yeah, why the Heckler? Like, what's the impetus?
Because it's the opposite of Stu in real life. So, in spite of the fact that he is the guy who straps on the highlighter yellow spandex to fight crime, Stu may be the most sane person in the entire book that I could find, because he's completely normal when out of the suit, and when in the suit, he becomes the most annoying man that's ever lived.
He's like a reverse Batman.
Yes. So Heckler is Stu's interpretation of and commentary on Delta City.
We live in a society, of course.
He lives in a society. So Stu is friendly but frustrated by his real world troubles, and he has a cartoonish backdrop. The Heckler is like his ultimate release. It's the answer to all of his things. He gets to let out all of his deepest, darkest desires in the costume, becoming more of an anti-Joker, a clown prince of crime fighting, Shaun.
Someone thought they were real clever when they came up with that, but that's not from the report. That's not from the comic, I want to say.
Oh no, I no.
So someone cleverer thought that up.
Yeah, someone incredibly amazing thought that. If Delta City is bombastically, like, it's bizarre, right? The Heckler always has to be louder and crazier than the city, which is a problem because the city's fucking insane.
Yeah, the city's insane enough that it drove the one sane man to go insane. Yeah. So he's trying to fight fire with fire.
This ridiculousness isn't relegated to the character. Mirroring Stu's controlled crazy break, the complete anarchy of the Heckler is contained in each page's 9 panels. Like, every page has 9 panels, but they all don't make any sense. They might not even be in order. And the writers even go off the complete deep end halfway through, and then they start, talking to the reader directly. Not the Heckler. The writers start talking to the reader, which is not as fun. And then this also includes somehow an aside about getting used. This was the strangest part, right? There's a joke in the 4th issue where it's written in, right, that the writers write in to the reader, and they somehow have an aside about getting used to the new Mrs. Kravitz on Bewitched. Now, the show Bewitched was cancelled 20 years before the Heckler's publication. I looked it up.
So wait. So are they... I guess they're watching it on VHS at the time?
So they're writing a story about this character, and then they're also talking to the reader to be like, how are you getting used to the new Mrs. Kravitz in Bewitched?
Why? Nothing to do with the story.
Do you remember that Will Ferrell movie with Nicole Kidman from 2005?
Yeah, Bewitched.
And it was like a remake of the show from the 70s?
Yeah. That's what they were watching.
This is 1992.
So, but I don't... why bring that up?
Because it doesn't make any sense, Shaun.
Was there another Bewitched in the 90s?
No, it's just literally they're making gags that would be funny to them when they were younger.
That's... I don't understand. Yeah, but maybe they wrote this comic 20 years before this.
Yeah.
And they're just they just sold it to DC then.
Yeah, not even the letters column, by the way, was immune to this kind of fucking weirdness, because before any relevant fan mail came in, Ender Bob Kane posted letters from people who have not read the Heckler, followed by real letters that had nothing to do with the Heckler, because they had to have a letters column at the end of the comic book, but because it was the first issue, nobody had sent in any letters, so they just made up letters. Some of them, one was addressed to Mariah Carey. Issue 3 contained only 2 letters from famous comic book fans, basically outlining what they hated about the Heckler in the Heckler comic book.
Bold move to print it, I will say.
Next, then the editor had his own letter angrily commanding the fans to move out of your parents' basement and get a life because they have far too much time on their hands because they're writing in mean letters.
So he's just going off the deep end as he's writing this, presumably.
The gag is that, they're getting hate mail and he's responding to the hate mail, but nobody read the comic book, so there's no actual mail.
No one actually cared enough about this character.
The sixth and final column, however, featured Too Little Too Late fan-created Heckler fan club cards. This was the first time actual people had done anything, and it was the last issue.
So those cards would go unused from then on.
So, after all this, let's talk about what killed them, right? So one tried and true method of he's not around, Sean.
Damn.
One tried and true method for introducing a new character to an existing universe is to have the new character fight maybe one of the more popular characters in the comic book. For example, Wolverine. First appearance, he's fighting Hulk.
Yep.
Then you're like, I know Hulk. Wow, Hulk is really strong. This Wolverine guy, he seems pretty cool.
I sure would like to read more of him and see what he's about.
No need to do that here, though, Sean, because they had their own lineup of villains. They were like, nobody cares if the Heckler fights the Joker. There's no money in that. Even the Riddler, there's no money in that. It was ridiculous. It'll never work out.
No one will read it.
Nobody will read it, right? So instead, he just had his own rogues gallery that nobody had ever heard of that they all made up. For example, you had Alessandro Boss Glitter Hubber, who was a foppish, mine-faced gang boss who kind of dresses like Adamant and has like a Ziggy Stardust quiff and is like the Black Mask of the city.
Right. Okay,
but he's got a sequined glove because he's Boss Glitter.
One sequined glove.
One, yes.
Michael Jackson at the time, of course.
He then has his own assassin that he calls Ratchet Jaw, because obviously it's just based off James Bond. Mm-hmm. And also he had another hired assassin called Bushwhacker. He was the ultimate hunter based off Sean
Crocodile Dundee.
Craven, surely. So Bushwhacker is there, and he's somehow so bad at his job that he immediately does himself in, and the Heckler doesn't even recognise that he's there.
So will the Heckler kill?
Heckler doesn't kill anybody. Heckler annoys people until they kill themselves.
But if it came to it, do you think he would?
I don't think so. Damn. I think he would just keep making jokes until the other person killed themselves.
Fair, okay. And he'd presumably be fine. I
suppose the question is, would Bugs Bunny kill?
Good point. Good point. He's not going to save you, but he's not going to kill you.
He's not going to save you, but he's not. If you fall and say, off the top of my head, off a monorail of some sort, I was going through the city, and you were Liam Neeson, and you were falling, he might not save you, but he won't kill you.
Which is a technicality, but it's technically fine.
It's very specific, but yes, right? You also had one of his other glitter gang lieutenants called King Mambo. Heckler rose to fame by defeating King Mambo, but this was not in the comic book. This happened before the comic book began, which is why the Heckler is famous.
So they just don't show the origin then.
No need for it. Sure, everyone loves and knows the Heckler.
People just want to see jokes.
Some other ones that I found, some of the villains are fantastic. You have the Cosmic Clown. It's a literal killer clown from outer space.
Nice.
And has a deadly finger of destiny, which not quite sure what it does, but it's destiny.
It's going to happen.
There is Say Hey, which is spelled in the French way. A living scarecrow with a penchant for musical theatre. That's good.
That's pretty good. We love a scarecrow villain.
Another villain I found, John Doe, the generic man. Not only is Doe himself generic, he has no face except a description, but anything he turns into turns completely featureless. So for example, if he touches somebody in the street in the comic book, they are replaced with the big block writing of pedestrian. If he touches a rock, it goes from an actual picture of a rock to the word rock.
Interesting. That's kind of cool, I guess.
He's the only one that I found that was half decent.
Wow, and it's the most, average man in the world.
He once took a bath and the grey mass was then just labelled as water that he was sitting in.
See, that's a good bit. But you only get one issue out of that.
And the world starts to go generic and more generic, and the Heckler has to save him. I think it's mostly a commentary on the fact that comic books are generic and the Heckler stands out. Yeah. He's the real thing.
We're the only good comic book left, I tell you.
The absolute worst one, however, was in the absence of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, Delta City's biggest threat came in the form of the 4 mopeds of the apocalypse, ridden by Plague Boy, Famine Lass, Kid Pestilence, and Skippy.
So that's what they did there. You expect another
you see,
one of the
it's
horses.
A gag.
It's funny.
You think it's going to be some sort of motorised 2-wheeled vehicle at the end there, but it's not.
It's not. It's not, Connor.
It's not.
Also, they're just laughing at mopeds in the 90s.
They are, yes. Now, none of these threats, however, were the thing to defeat the Heckler. In the final frame of the comic books, the Heckler's uniform 9-panel pages, the creators announced that only crummy sales figures could kill the Heckler, and the unceremonious announcement went on, and sadly, that's just what happened. This is it, no more Heckler. Followed by a picture of the Heckler, his own final line of, "That would do it all right," aside from, and that was the end of the Heckler, may he heckle in peace.
Honestly, the most interesting thing about him is his death.
Yeah. Powers and abilities, by the way, the shortest powers and abilities paragraph I've ever read. The Heckler is highly resistant to injury, but has no other known powers or abilities. Normal strength, normal agility for a man his age, size and fitness. His most useful weapon is his razor-sharp wit, which he can use to badger and irritate his opponents to distraction and ultimately defeat.
I'm feeling a bit called out right now, Connor.
I was thinking how long it would take you.
Yeah. If I didn't say it, you were going to say it.
Oh, I was set up. Through this whole thing, I was like, I didn't know Shaun was in the comic books in the 90s. Fair play to him.
No, what can I say?
Shaun, the Heckler, I mean, you haven't read the comic books. I feel like I've gone to Vietnam. They were atrocious, really terrible. And at the same time, Doomsday is like killing Superman and Azrael is fucking fighting Batman, and comic books are through the roof. Unfortunately, it didn't transfer to the Heckler.
Yeah.
He didn't quite get that, the flow off from those sales.
Do you think there's someone who's a dedicated Heckler fan? Because I will say, I'm on figurerealm.com and someone has made a custom action figure for the Heckler.
It might have an underground thing. Do you remember that time I bought you the Orb t-shirt?
Yes. One dude is printing it in his basement.
There was one t-shirt online, exists in the world, and one guy printed it in his basement and I got it for Shaun for his birthday. But it was the Orb, the motorbike version, where he wears the big red orb on his head and just rides around on a
the
motorbike.
Original Orb.
Drake Shand, of course, everyone knows the name.
Helmet could shoot lasers for some reason. It's never explained.
I didn't say the name because it's like saying Batman. Everyone knows it's Bruce Wayne. Yeah, Drake Shand, the Orb.
They go hand in hand.
Maybe he does have a fan base. I'm not quite sure. But it might be one of those I don't know, Chair, for example, Shaun, in which a character is so terrible that
gains a bit of a following.
Idiots like him.
Whoa. Connor, you bring up the topic of Chair and then you slander him.
The patron said to the pod, Chair.
Yeah, he has superseded the Orb. as your least favourite, but everyone else's favourite character.
Yeah. If anyone wasn't here for the chair episode, Shaun, what is chair?
Chair's a chair. He's a regular chair. He's also the best killer in Marvel Comics. The finest fighter on 4 legs.
That is true. That is actually a fact. Chair comic books are funnier than the Heckler comic books by quite a margin.
Yeah.
But Heckler comic books really... I think what kills it is it says this is going to be funny at the start, and it never quite gets there.
Yeah. Pitching yourself as the funniest comic is a high bar to reach.
Yeah. It's tough. It's a tough one because you're never ever going to get there.
Exactly. That's why we say we're the most boring podcast in the world.
And we reach that every single time.
Every single time, folks.
Consistent. Shaun, I think that's it for my report on the Heckler.
Excellent report, Conor. Would you like me to take us out?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Hero or Zero. We will be back on Monday with the Heroes for Hire podcast, and next Friday with another episode of Hero or Zero. Big thank you to everyone over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Heroes for Hire podcast. If you want to follow us over there and support us, it helps us to keep making the show. You get extra movie reviews and stuff like that, and we really appreciate it. There is also a merch store, heroesforhire.ie/shop. Twitter's @HeroesForHirePod, the 4 is the number 4. Facebook is Detective Divilment's discussion group. Instagram is Heroes for Hire podcast. The best way to ever help out the show is to tell one human being that we exist.
Just a one, please.
And I think that's about it, Conor.
I think so. So I've been Conor Lawler.
I've been Shaun Meehan.
I shall see you all next week, guys.
That's all, folks. Don't do anything.
Good. Bye.
Bye.